Thank you very much. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Elizabeth Dias. I'm a marketing manager here at Perficient, and I'm excited today to moderate our webinar, Making Customers Fall in Love with Your Self-Service Community. Today's best practice webinar will cover how to design an engaging, value-driven community, the steps it takes to drive self-service success, the benefits of leveraging insights from customer interactions, and how you can further optimize that experience in your self-service community. As the operator mentioned, we are recording today, and we will be sure to email you with information on how to access the material after the session. Time permitting, we will answer questions at the end, so feel free to type those into the chat box at any time. In a moment, I will hand things over to our speakers today, but first let me give you a quick overview about Perficient. We are a leading digital transformation consulting firm serving Global 2000 and enterprise customers throughout North America with unparalleled information technology, management consulting, and creative capabilities. Perficient and our digital agency deliver vision, execution, and value with outstanding digital experience, business optimization, and industry solutions. We do have a broad network of locations across the U.S. as well as offshore facilities in India and China. Founded in 1997, we're a publicly traded company with more than 2,800 employees. And we formed strategic partnerships with a number of major technology vendors, as well as dedicated business solutions and industry practices. And last but not least, a little bit about our Salesforce practice. We have a national practice and with more than 3,000 engagements under our belt, 500 clients, and a very leading customer satisfaction rating. We do deliver client value across the entire technology stack of Salesforce solutions. And last but not least, a little background on our speakers. Momoko is a senior business consultant in Perficient's national Salesforce practice. She has more than 4 years of Salesforce consulting experience, managing engagements of all sizes across the spectrum of products, including Community Cloud, Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, and other custom solutions for our clients. David is a Director of Product Marketing for Coveo's Intelligent Customer Service Solutions, which includes Coveo for Salesforce. He has more than 16 years of experience in customer support, having served in various product marketing positions at Siebel, Salesforce, Lithium, supporting CRM, customer contact center, and community management solutions. He's a certified community manager and lives in Austin, Texas. And with that, I'm going to turn things over to Momoko.
Great. Thank you, Elizabeth, and hello, everyone. As Elizabeth has mentioned, I'm a lead business consultant here at Perficient. So part of my responsibilities here are implementing communities for customers who really vary in size and industry, and sharing best practices to ensure they are successful with their implementation. So we'll be taking a little poll later to see who in the audience has already implemented Salesforce Communities. But for those who have not implemented Salesforce Communities, you might be kind of thinking, why Salesforce Communities? So I wanted to kind of highlight some of the key features of why you would want to move to a Salesforce Community. So first off, Salesforce offers pre-built templates. One of the more popular ones are the customer service template that they offer, formerly called Napili, and we'll be talking a lot about that today during our call. But they also have templates like the Partner Central. So if you're interested in rolling out a partner community, that's one of the templates that you should be definitely checking out, that comes with some components for lead generation. The Community Bulder is another strong point of why you want to move to Salesforce Communities, in that it offers a drag and drop, point and click UI configuration. And previously with communities, there used to be some limitations, and even when Salesforce templates came out, on how you can brand your community. Those barriers are kind of now gone with the new release of the custom theme layouts that Salesforce has introduced within the last few releases, and you're really able to brand your template the way you want, and your options are pretty much endless there. Salesforce does have a lot of Lightning components, out-of-the-box Lightning components that I'll be talking about during this call, but they've really made customizing your own Lightning components and the deployment of community super quick and easy. I mentioned a little bit about the pre-built templates like the customer service template or Partner Central you can use, but sometimes they might not fit your needs there. Salesforce has announced the lightning bolt templates that are created by Salesforce partners like Perficient who create kind of industry-specific and to specific use case templates that you're able to upload into your org and customize those for your needs. So those are something you want to check out if you have a specific if you're in a specific industry. And the mobile first. So you'll kind of hear me talking a lot about having a mobile first design in this call. Designing your user interface with the mobile in mind is going to be super critical to the success of your community. Users really find it, when they find it easy to use and in alignment with the other experience that they have with mobile apps, you'll see that your customers are going to be much happier with your community. So I'll talk a little bit more about mobile first during this call. And then I think we're ready for the poll, Elizabeth.
Awesome. So we just want to take a minute really quick here and find out who currently is using Salesforce Community Cloud platform today. So we have a sense for who we're talking to. If you're not, you'll be in for a treat to learn more about the product just from some of the customer use cases that we'll be presenting. But please take a minute here to indicate where you're at with using either Community Cloud or another platform. A few more seconds here. It looks like we do have some people that are already familiar with using the platform, so that's great to see. And I'll wrap things up here. So around 70% of folks are using communities and probably looking for ways to optimize it. So I think we'll have some great information and value add how you can improve self-service. But then it looks like that we've got a fair amount of others that aren't familiar with it or are not using it today. So I think we've got a good balance across the board. And with that, let's get into things.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Okay, so they say that 2/3 of customers prefer self-service support, so you can really see how important self-service support is to a company. A lot of the questions that I get is, how do you measure this community success? So you've built out this community, how do you know that it's successful? So the first one is, one of the ways you can track it is through engagement. So one of the benefits of Salesforce Community is the power of chatter. You can now really connect with your customers with very little effort, and you can use peer-to-peer support for case deflection. We'll be talking a lot about case deflection on this call today, and David is going to be talking a little bit about the case deflection offering that's offered by Coveo, so definitely stay tuned for that. Another way is tracking it with the members. Members being able to find their own content and self-servicing the issue without needing to reach out to live assistant support. And capturing feedback is very important within a self-service community. We have CSAT, Customer Effort Score, and NPS. Those are ways you can track the success of your community. So those are a few of the ways. We're going to be talking a lot about some best practices. And Elizabeth, I don't think I can move the slide here, or it might be lagging. Okay. So talking a lot about best practices for engaging Salesforce communities on this call. So a few of the best practices we'll talk about is the user experience of the community, making navigation super easy, enabling case deflection, encouraging engagement within your community, making search prominent, make content available, recommending content, and then in-app experience of making search pervasive. and we'll be talking a lot more of other best practices there. Okay. All right. So first things first, knowledge is starting off with knowledge. So knowledge is a key component of self-service. The first one might seem a little bit obvious, creating quality content, but quality content is going to be extremely important within your community. You want to be able to put as much detail as you can within a knowledge article so that customers are not reaching out, reaching for the phone or reaching out to chat with your agents on a specific issue. Another thing that knowledge articles offer is the ability to embed videos too. So videos are a great way to surface videos that you create about any issues to your customers. If you're kind of having some trouble creating some quality content, enable your subject matter experts to help you create these knowledge articles is important too. They're kind of seen as the experts, so they can definitely help you provide quality content. Building the strong taxonomy so that articles are easy to find and categorized in a specific way. I'll be talking about this and how it relates to community navigation during this session. I talked about how important getting customer feedback is. So another way of getting customer feedback is turning on the knowledge article ratings. Salesforce has the thumbs up, thumbs down knowledge article ratings, or you can do a rating of 1 through 5. So that's a great way to know if these knowledge articles are helpful. And keep it fresh. You want your customers to keep coming back to your community because they'll know that it's updated, and it's updated with the most relevant information and most up-to-date content. So the next one I'm going to talk about is making navigation easy for your customers. When you're kind of thinking about your knowledge taxonomy, some clients kind of like to think backwards and think about how these knowledge articles are going to be categorized for the customers so that they have the best experience. So you can kind of think of it that way, and putting yourself in your customer's shoes and thinking about when a customer goes to your website, how should these articles be categorized? And then you can kind of use that as your knowledge taxonomy and then fine-tune it by adding subcategories underneath that. And so, yeah, this is a great example how it's separated by device. So if you're an iPhone user, you're probably not going to want to see knowledge articles under Android. So by clicking on the iPhone category, you're able to see specific articles tied to just the iPhone. And then the next one is personalizing the experience. So customers love it when a community is personalized depending on which products they purchased. So given this personalized experience, you're kind of able to create a different community experience and then also surface different knowledge articles. There's different ways you can do this within a community. This example that I have up on the screen here is an example we did for NextGen. So NextGen has a lot of different business units within their business. And so one customer might not own products of all business units. So what we've done here is created separate communities. And then depending on which products the customers have purchased, they would have access to the specific community. So it's a nice way to kind of separate the community experience and then having customers select which experience they want to go into, and then give them a nice header where they can toggle between the different community experiences. We'll be talking a little bit more about personalization. Well, David will be talking about that and how they've mastered personalization within Coveo, so definitely stay tuned for that. I mentioned one of the great things about Community Template is using the Lightning components. The Lightning components offered with the customer service template, for example, are really great ways that you can get a community deployed very quickly. So these components might be a case form where it has embedded case deflection, navigational topics, showing trending articles. These are kind of great components where you can just drag onto your page and all the logic is pre-built for you. We've seen clients who like to go through this like crawl, walk, run approach, and they want to get a community deployed pretty quickly and get up and running. So they might start off with using the out-of-the-box components. Like I said, they're already pre-built, so it doesn't take much to set up. Put those on the page, and then get it deployed. So previous to Lightning and templates, deployments could take a very long time for a community, especially for self-service. But now with the out-of-the-box components, you're able to really get deployed very quickly. And then once some of our clients who kind of use out-of-the-box, they end up wanting a more powerful community experience down the road. And that's where you can leverage app exchange offerings through partners like Coveo and even Perficient. We've also built custom Lightning components on ideas, which I'll definitely be going over in a little bit. And you're not having to spend all that extra time with the development effort. So community templates and using out-of-the-box Lightning components are a great way to get up and running quickly. The next area I want to cover is encouraging engagement within your community. So this is kind of where having a community manager becomes really, oops, am I skipping a slide there? There we go. I might have skipped back, sorry. Encouraging engagement in your community. So this is where having your community manager becomes really important to have. You want to make sure that someone's there to facilitate these conversations, and this is where there's features like chatter questions, which is like a Q&A format. So this is customers can post a question, or they can even respond to other questions, and this is a great way to deflect creating a case. Some examples like you've seen, I'm sure everyone has seen like Yahoo Answers, Quora, Stack Overflow. They all do a great job of kind of having that question and answer format and achieve great self-service success there. Another example is using discussions. So for Salesforce, that's called chatter groups. And those really allow members to ask questions as well and then learn information about maybe a specific topic. That's a great idea to connect like-minded members within a group to strengthen your customer or even your partner engagement there. Within the engagement, you can also empower members to endorse each other as experts on specific topics as well. So you can kind of use it as a gamification method, and one of the out-of-the-box components is the leaderboard. So that's a great way to showcase who's contributing to questions, who's answering them, who's getting a lot of likes, and that sort of statistics right onto your homepage. And with chatter questions, if a question was asked by someone else, it can probably most likely help another customer as well too. So this is a great way to have peer-to-peer support and then having the community answer questions without needing that live assistant support. So it's a huge benefit, and I highly recommend putting some engagement within your community there. And then this ties into my next slide on crowdsourcing answers. So when you're using chatter questions, community members can easily, or you can crowdsource your answers, and what that does is ensures the best answers are always found quickly. So in this example here, we have chatter questions. You'll see that in a response was marked as best answer. So this is kind of up in front and kind of moved to the top so that when customers are reading other questions posted by another member of the community, they can easily find the answer to that and then kind of builds that knowing who to trust within a community as well. So I mentioned earlier that getting knowledge feedback is very important. So another way to gather feedback is with ideas. And so Perficient has an App Exchange product that you can download with. I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with App Exchange products, but if those of you are not, kind of think of it as getting an app from the Apple Store or even Google Play. So you can install these directly into your Salesforce org and then surface pre-created components where users can create ideas, they can vote on ideas, and then also comment on ideas, and then also see what status of what the idea is. So I think this is also a great way to self-service as well too. So customers can post an idea instead of having to reach out to support to kind of tell them what kind of idea they have. And then other customers can also see what ideas have already been posted. So maybe if they search the community for an issue, and then if someone has posted this already on the idea board, they might not create a case to report a bug, for example, because if it's already posted on idea, they'll know that this is something that's possibly on the roadmap or someone else has already submitted it. And on my next slide, so once you have the foundation of all your community features, branding is something you should definitely think about. Your brand is the way people perceive your company. So branding is very important. The Community Bulder is a great way to apply some styling and branding out of the box. So if you don't have like a web designer, you can use the Community Bulder to apply images and apply colors to your community pretty easily. So some of these tips I got from my UI UX person on my team to kind of just get their ideas on what are some of the best practices. So some of the things that they called out was choosing images that are simple and attractive. So when you're choosing images, kind of think about how it's going to look on mobile as well too. So if you choose an image that, it's maybe not going to look so great on a screen that's as small as a mobile phone, you probably don't want to choose that image. So what's nice about the Community Bulder also is that you can toggle between the two views before publishing your image so that you'll know what it looks like on a mobile, what it looks like on a tablet, and then also what it looks like on desktop too. So any image you select should look good across all devices. Another tip that they provided was keeping important content above the fold of the screen. So what that means is any news and announcements, for example, you don't want to push to the bottom of the screen so that especially if you're on a mobile, you're going to be constantly scrolling down to get this information. So you want to kind of put it on the fold, above the fold of the screen so that it's easy to find. And things like maybe contact us pages, you maybe want to have a link to that in your header so that those are easy to find as well. And again, I've talked about this over and over, but thinking mobile first. We kind of live in this age and day where people are always constantly on their mobile phone, and if something doesn't work on mobile, some customers are not going to use it. So think mobile first. And mobile also has the most limitations as screen size goes. So once you have the mobile design in place, the rest of the design gets a lot easier. Designing for desktop becomes easier. And then also provide a smooth transition from your website to the community as well too. I think I've been on some websites where you're on their corporate website, and the moment you click contact us, it's a whole new different experience. I think having some consistency between the two sites is very important. The next one comes to designing your pages. Think about the community experience. The homepage is like prime real estate for any community. So make sure that you're surfacing the most important information. And as I mentioned before, one tip from my UI UX person was keeping it at the top. So eliminate all the clicks and the scrolls that customers need to do in order to find important information is key. Putting helpful tips and hot topics are also a good idea. And then you want to also provide access to customer support, as I mentioned. But before someone is going to your website and looking for that contact support in order so that they can, pick up the phone and call you guys want to make sure that search is prominent enough so that they're kind of drawn to using search before picking up that phone. So on my next slide here, we have a great example where this company, they offer subscription video on demand. So you can tell how prominent that search bar is and how big it is. So the moment you kind of go to their help page, you're kind of drawn to asking a question. So it says, we're here to help. So making search prominent, I think, is important there. Coveo has also succeeded at self-service with their intelligent search. So David will be talking about that on his slide. And I think we have another poll that's coming here.
You do. So the next portion, we're really going to focus in on ways, if you're already using communities, how can you enhance that community experience? And one of those things is particular, it brings it all together is search. So how would you rate search as a metric for measuring self-service in your community or with any of your web experiences today? So are you currently using it and it's a critical component? Is it becoming an increasingly important component to providing customer support? Not important or not sure yet? Give a few minutes to collect some responses. And just on the screen, it looks like search is a big aspect for a lot of folks.
Great.
Or they're headed in that direction. So
yeah.
I will close this out and let David take things away so that he can talk about those that are either thinking about it or already exploring it.
Great. Thanks, Elizabeth, and thanks, Momoko. So I need to focus the rest of this presentation on that 7 to 8% who don't think it's really important. That's who I'm targeting right now. Okay, so thanks, Momoko, for that setup. That was great. If you're not familiar with Coveo, kind of in a nutshell, we do AI-powered search. And what do we mean by that? It's really about bringing relevance to your interactions, whether that's with customers, partners, or employees. And in the context of this webinar, we're talking about it within community, although we can work across all different Salesforce clouds. But if you're not familiar with Coveo, we're a Gold ISV partner with Salesforce. We're on the App Exchange. You can see in the latest Gartner Magic Quadrant, we are up and to the right where you want to be for their Insight Engines Magic Quadrant that was released this spring. So kind of like Perficient, we're all over the globe, headquartered in Canada, but a strong presence in San Francisco Bay Area as well. And Perficient is a big partner and helps us with a lot of different clients, which we'll see in a bit. So let me forward to the next. There we go. So regardless of what industry you're in, we kind of have a track record of working not just in one industry, but really across various industries. So I see on this call a lot of different industries represented. So I think that just kind of shows that customer experience and having a good customer experience within your community applies to all different industries. It's not just one specific, like a consumer brand or a B2B brand. It really cuts across all industries. And just so this is a slide that just kind of shows our depth with Perficient. So they're one of our top partners in our go-to-market practice. You can see some of the clients we've done joint work with: GoPro, American Express, BlackBerry, Tableau is a really new one. So we are working with their team day in and day out, and have a lot of different go-to-market activities with them. So they're a key part of that, and it really spans not just across our customer support operations, but also site search and our workplace practice. So they kind of service it all. So now that we have that out of the way, I kind of want to get back to the best practices and talk about some best practices that we've seen with Salesforce community customers and what really makes for good success within a Salesforce community. And one of those things, our bread and butter at Coveo is, surfacing relevant content through search. And this first best practice I'll cover may sound a little counterintuitive, but we talk about, you have to make your content readily available. But the second part of that is we advise people to kind of play the content where it lies. And by that we mean don't spend all your time trying to get content across all your different data silos. Don't try to get it all into one spot and then think, okay, now I can put it in a community. Because all these different organizations and all the different departments are spinning up their own knowledge bases and documentation and articles and all that. And it's just you're never going to have all that content in one spot. So by having Coveo, you can crawl all those different sources and apply machine learning to that and surface the best ones. And we have a good example of someone who's done that, Herculean, which does software for the higher education university market. This is a self-service portal that they've rolled out, and you can see here that people go in and search for something on their community, and we're bringing in articles, community posts, documentation from multiple different sources, and surfacing the right information based on the content, not the source. So we're not saying, oh, we're only going to show documentation first, and then we'll show community posts second. We're saying look at the value of the content and surface the valuable content regardless of where it is. And we've done the same with Logitech. So Logitech built on a Salesforce community, and so when you go and you search on the Logitech community, they're using Coveo to go and surface that content regardless of what product, whatever you have. And we'll show some best practices that people are doing to surface that content a little bit later. Another best practice we talk about is machine learning, and you kind of hear machine learning and artificial intelligence kind of all get thrown around. So let's kind of deconstruct that a little bit and talk about what we mean by machine learning. So it's kind of at the core of everything that we do when we walk into a customer. So we kind of have a recipe that we say you have to have the content, so you have to be able to go and index all that content wherever it resides. And then you can start to apply a context to it. So in the case of a community, if that customer is logged in and you know information about that customer, you know what products they own, or you know what geography they're in, or if they're entitled to certain content or certain products, you can start to further refine their experience by that content. And then the third piece is behavior. So with analytics, kind of running in the background, capturing everything that we do, everything that customer does, you're able to see, you're able to extract kind of the wisdom of the crowd and see, okay, this is what tens of hundreds of thousands of people have done, so we're going to start surfacing more information because other people have found it helpful. So when you really apply content and context and behavior, that's when you start getting at a relevant search experience. And that's kind of what we mean when we say let machine learning do the heavy lifting, is at the end of the day, it's machine learning just for the sake of machine learning isn't really helpful. It's about relevant content based on these three pieces. I touched on this a little bit, but once you start learning the behavior of the crowds and what people have done and what they have successfully found, you can start to proactively start to recommend content. So you can start capturing behavioral data from whether it's Adobe or Sitecore or Google Analytics, and you start measuring what people are looking at, what they're searching for, what they found helpful, what they've clicked on and not submitted a case on, and you start multiplying that times, like I said, tens, hundreds, thousands of times, you can start to infer recommendations and start to recommend content based on what other people have done. So if you look at that second bullet, you can kind of think of this as an evolution. The simplest form of self-service is just answering a question or answering a search query. And then the second part is you kind of graduate up to you start to suggest content based on what other people have done. And then kind of the ultimate goal is you start to recommend other content. And you can start to recommend other content. You can start to recommend other learning, other people if you have, like in Chatter, if you have other people. So it's not just about pure content. It's learning and people. So you can see right here, so Salesforce's help and training site is powered by Coveo. So if you go on to help.salesforce.com and use their search bar, that's powered by Coveo. So this is their second most visited domain on Salesforce aside from their login page. So you can imagine the thousands of people that are going every single day and searching for content. So it's learning constantly and refining those results automatically. And so based on all that content that people are searching for, Coveo is able to start to make intelligent recommendations. But we're not just doing that on pure content. Like here you can see there's a quick start guide, there's a learning course, there's a video, there's app exchange content. So you can see all these different data sources that we're pulling from. We're actually starting to make recommended learning paths, similar kind of to what they're doing with Trailhead, but we're doing that within the context of help and training. So we're saying people who have gone in and searched for collaborative forecasting have started to take these learning paths. And so we're starting to recommend learning paths based on what people have searched for. The next one is analytics, and this is where we kind of get, kind of behind the scenes to the actual business analyst or the community manager or the user who's actually digesting this data and looking at this data. So what's really important is just having reports for report's sake doesn't do anyone any good. You have to kind of understand your customers' behavior so you can start making changes to how your teams, your content is interacting. So here you can see, you can report on the number of queries that are happening, the click count. You can start to see where certain content is ranking. You can see, if they're using it within the Service Cloud. You can see if they're attaching it to cases, and you can start to look at trends based on that source data. So you can start to see, well, actually people are finding Salesforce Knowledge more useful than a Lithium article. And if you take that one step further, you can also see what content customers are looking for. So what content are they searching for but not finding? Or what content are they searching for and digging into? So this is just a quick screen capture of a query without results dashboard. So you can see this is what people are going in and searching on and not being able to find anything on. So as a community manager or business analyst, you can go in and that's like golden actionable data that you can say, these are the top 10 things that people are searching on and not finding. So more than likely they're having to create cases off of this, or they're getting frustrated and just leaving. So you can say, we need to change our knowledge creation policy, or we need to get up some community posts about this content because people aren't finding it. And then the next thing is, and this is probably a more advanced use of search, and it's not going to apply for everyone, but we're starting to see the trend of people wanting to put search inside the actual app. So Adobe has done this with Coveo with their Creative Cloud. So within Photoshop, they also use Coveo on Adobe, help.adobe.com. But when you go into Creative Cloud and you're actually at your desktop using Adobe and you want to know how to apply a filter or how to align an object, a good customer experience is being able to deliver that information in the context of their work. So they're able to go into Photoshop directly in the app without leaving and search for that. And we're applying machine learning to these same results within the Adobe app. So you're not having to go and leave and go over to adobe.com and search in the community and then go back to the app and see if that works or cut and paste something. It's all right there in the app. So we're starting to see more actually B2C and B2B customers doing it, but it's kind of an extension of their community. So they usually start with community. Once community is up and running and has reached critical mass, then they start leveraging that API and send it over to their product. And this is just wrapping up here. So some of you say, oh, this looks good. How can I get started, or what are the different flavors? So we offer kind of a different level based on your business needs. So obviously, all to the right, the Enterprise Edition is pretty much any type of more than 50 different sources, on-premise and cloud-based connectors that you can connect to. But if you want to get started for free, and free is free, there's no catch. You can use it as much as you want for free. You can start adding Coveo to your Salesforce community just using Salesforce content. If you want to apply and embed machine learning within your community, you can do that. If you want to get a little bit higher level of customer support, you can move up to Express for $800 a month. And then if you only want to use cloud-based connectors in your community or service cloud, you can use the Pro Edition. So there's a kind of a different flavor for your business need and kind of where you are with rolling out community. And then this last slide just kind of shows what people say, well, doesn't Salesforce already do search? Why would I go and get something else for search when Salesforce does this? And it's a great question. So this is kind of the out of the box, and if you use Salesforce Community, you're familiar with this. This is on the left, kind of standard Salesforce search within Community. It's kind of what we call federated search because there's no unified list. So if you search for like espresso, they're going to kind of surface the content in sections, so there's no really unified ranking. Whereas on the right, this is using our free drop-in, our free plugin. You just go to the App Exchange, drop it in your community, and you can see, you have thumbnail views, you have facets, you can start to filter content. So it's just a much more rich UI, and you can do more with it from a faceted standpoint. And let's see, we're right at 45 minutes, so I'm going to hand it back over to Elizabeth. And feel free to send me any questions. I'm at djames@coveo.com, or post them in the question section. We'd be happy to answer them.
Perfect. Thank you, David. Great information, and I do have some questions that have come in already, so I will jump right into things. First question, and I might, Momoko, I'll start this question with you, but then David, feel free to chime in. But a question came in about what types of documents, maybe even in particular PDFs, and can you post those in the community? And are they better used in different types of communities, so maybe an internal community versus a customer-facing one?
Yeah, definitely. So I have a lot of clients that come to me with all this PDF stuff that they have, and they want to store those into the community. One thing that I do ask the clients is, can we put this in a knowledge article? And the reason for that is I mentioned earlier on one of the slides for case deflection, when someone's creating a case, we can recommend them some knowledge articles that might help them. So we can surface the data within a knowledge article to enhance case deflection. So those are kind of some of the questions that I ask. But kind of as we've seen with the Coveo solution, if it doesn't even exist within a Salesforce org, using Coveo, you can pull from other sources as well too. So it doesn't necessarily, you're not stuck with having a Salesforce solution is kind of what I'm coming to. David, I don't know if you want to add anything to that on what you've seen when it comes to posting documents and PDFs within a community.
No, I think it's fine. I mean, I think it's if you put yourself in their shoes and think, if this is like a 2-page PDF, like a data sheet or a product data sheet, I think it's fine. If it's like a heavy, 30, 40-page product documentation, I would say just the user experience isn't going to be great because you don't have to weed through it.
Right.
Like you said, with Coveo, we do index all that content, so you can easily, using Quick View, you can find the keywords you're looking for within that PDF pretty quickly. But even saying that, I would say look at the length of the PDF and see, is that something you really want to burden your users with?
Perfect. And question from earlier on, Momoko, can you kind of just clarify, you kept using the term members. There might be different terminology depending on the nature of the community. So can you just briefly describe what members are and then how they're able to participate in chatter?
Yeah, definitely. So you can kind of you heard me talking about customers and community members interchangeably. So from my perspective, I kind of look at community members who are the authenticated users. So with them being authenticated, you know exactly who they are, and you can kind of give them that personalized experience. And then the other thing is participating in chatter. So in order to participate in chatter, like posting a question or even responding to another question that someone might have posted, or just providing engagement in a chatter group, you do need to be authenticated. So those would be your community members.
Awesome. A couple other questions. So does Salesforce Community offer online usage? So a user can either download or view pages even when they're offline?
I think, David, you might have covered a little bit about Coveo analytics on that one. Would you be able to answer more if Coveo offers usage through those reports?
David?
From my understanding,
could you ask? Sorry, could you ask it again? I don't know if I'm following the offline part.
So I guess maybe perhaps not with web access. I know. We might need to take that one offline.
We may need to take that offline. Yeah, I'm not certain about that. I would say, the community, you're going to have online access to use the Salesforce community. But maybe I'm not understanding the full depth of the question.
Sure. I will direct another one to you though. Which Coveo solution offers the ability to customize content and make recommendations? Is that based on what assets they're tied to that account, or?
So are you talking about did I say what edition?
Yes, I think so.
So you could do that with recommendations we've done. Really, if you're going to be using external sources, you do the Pro or the Enterprise, because you need to start, you have to use content outside of Salesforce to start recommending content. I mean, you really wouldn't want to recommend, I guess you could, but Pro or Enterprise would be the best edition, because you're looking at what other people have searched on and then what else they've clicked on. And so kind of the best practice is you want to recommend something that's completely kind of outside of what they're normally searching for. So like in that Salesforce example, they're searching for documentation and community articles, and then we're recommending a training module, which is kind of a completely separate kind of object. So I mean, you can do it a lot of different ways, but it would be the Pro or the Enterprise I would recommend to be able to do that kind of adequately. But I'd be happy to talk, to get more specific in the use case and see what they're looking to do.
Perfect. Another question about using Box. I know that's a common kind of document repository. So how can you integrate things like Box into communities for access to knowledge? Let's take that one.
So yeah, I can take that one. So I mean, it's just so for Coveo, you could do that with, let me go back to this one slide. So this one, so Pro Edition, you could use Box. So Box would just be a simple, when you go into Coveo online, you just do add source, and there's a box, and you do it. I think it's through OAuth, and you add Box as a source. And the key thing to remember about this, and this is really, really important, I should have mentioned it earlier, is the sources absorb the privacy of that user. So if I'm searching for content, I'm not going to see content that I am not supposed to see. So if Elizabeth goes and searches, she's only going to see box content that she's been given access to see. So those security permissions go with you. So you're not going to have an instance to where I'm searching for content on Box, or I'm searching for content on the community, and I see a Box result, and then I click on that Box result, and then I get a message that says you don't have access, because that's a bad user experience. So you're only going to surface content that that user has access to.
Other use cases, I guess, so if you're using Service Cloud, how can Service Cloud work alongside communities and apply Coveo there?
Sure. So and we've been doing this for a long time, and Momoko, feel free to jump in too. So we can add Coveo as an agent or an insight panel on the side of Service Cloud. So we can do an automatic lookup based on whether it's the case field or whatever field you want to query within the Salesforce case, and then we start to auto-recommend content for the agent, and then we can do it across different sources, and they can attach it to the case, or if it's on the phone or whatever, or chat, attach it there as well.
Any other comments there? I know Lightning. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Okay. Lightning. So we talked about Lightning. So obviously customers are thinking about moving from Classic to Lightning, but some of their communities might be designed in Visualforce today. So does Coveo work with Lightning?
Yes. So it is, if you go on the App Exchange and look, it's Lightning ready. And so it works in Lightning Communities, it works Lightning Console, and yeah, so no issues there. And then for Visualforce, yes, you can build Visualforce pages using it. So some of our customers, in addition to using the panel on Service Cloud, they will also just build a custom tab and maybe name that Coveo search or content search, and they'll build just a simple Visualforce page, a Visualforce tab, and just you can have a search page within Salesforce that does the exact same thing. It kind of looks like a community within Salesforce. And you can do that on the community side. If you haven't switched over to Community Cloud and you're still using Visualforce pages, we also have several customers who use Visualforce and Coveo.
Great. I think there's a few other questions. One just maybe generically around Coveo. Does it work with other CRMs?
Yes. So our primary CRM is obviously Salesforce. We can index Zendesk, but we also work within Microsoft Dynamics. So if you go to their App Store and search for Coveo, you can see that we are compatible with Microsoft Dynamics 365. And Also, I will add we have some customers too who use Salesforce for some of their departments, but some of their departments are still on Siebel, and they need to index, content that's in Siebel still, and we can also do that.
Great. I think that's it. So unless there's any other questions, we're pretty close to the top of the hour. If we weren't able to answer a question specifically, I think there were some clarifications. We will do so during the follow-up process with you guys individually. And as a reminder, we will have a recording of this and the slide deck made available to you very soon after the webinar. So thank you all for joining.